Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
Welcome to the NBA Outlet, presented by OTGBasketball.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at OTGBasketball. John Aiello is back. Nick Fay is here as well. I'm Parth Goradia. What's going on, guys?
What's going on? Was I not on the pod last weekend?
No, what Nick and I did was like a flashback pod, and you weren't on for that. So that's what I mean. You were on the pod last weekend, though, right?
I feel like I was.
Yeah, he was last week. Me and Parth did something midweek.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was on. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
That's what it was. Welcome back, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I feel blessed to be here. Before the pod, I was taking a shower and I had probably the worst near fall in the shower I've ever had in my life. So.
That's enough of that story. I don't want to hear anything more about that. All right, guys. Before we get started, I just wanted to send some thoughts. We all wanted to send some thoughts to loved ones and family members of Bryce Dejon Jones, who passed away earlier this weekend, I believe. Nick, I know you had more information on that. Do you want to share?
Yeah, it was such a sad story. From what I read, I understand he went to go to his girlfriend's apartment. He was on the wrong floor. He broke in. He was yelling out her name, and the guy came out of his bedroom and shot him, and he bled out. It's a really sad story. Prayers out to his family.
Yeah, I didn't see him play. I think I watched one Pelicans game where he was in, and he looked like a promising player. I think he was playing well, and then he, I think, broke his finger, and so he missed the rest of the season. But he actually just signed a 3-year deal, I believe, with the Pelicans. So it's definitely a sad story and a tragedy. And yeah, like you guys said, thoughts and prayers out to him, to his family.
Tough to move on from that, but we're gonna try to do that. Game 6, Golden State Warriors, Oklahoma City Thunder. I thought the Thunder had it wrapped up. You could kind of tell, even at halftime, I was like, man, Golden State's in a pretty good spot for what they've been doing in the first half. OKC should have a greater lead, but OKC was pretty much in the lead until the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, I want to say, and then Golden State just soared and took it away from them. What were your thoughts watching that game?
It was, Oklahoma City was up by, I believe, 3 at the half, or it was. I know it was close at the half, and it wasn't looking like games 3 and 4 they were going to dominate the second half and run away with it. Their offense looked like the old OKC offense that we've been accustomed to seeing for the past few years. It was just one-on-one, basically Durant doing too much. Westbrook, who had a good game, but I still thought at the end of the game he tried to do too much. And they're not going to win that way. They're not going to beat Golden State going 2-on-5. And it's sad that they missed that opportunity, because even though I'm not writing them off like a lot of people are, you never know. Game 7, with their backs against the wall, they could have a different mentality and they could go in and win against Golden State. But Golden State definitely has the upper hand. They have a lot of momentum, and they're so great at home. OKC can't play like that. If they play like that again, they're going to get, dominated in Game 7. They got to go back to how they played in Game 3 and 4.
Yeah, it was a really disappointing game for OKC. It's a game they could have won. They missed out on a lot of opportunities. I think Parth tweeted this out. They missed a lot of free throws. And down the stretch, Kevin Durant tried to take on the Warriors by himself. They were playing a zone. There was 2 Warriors and there was 1 Kevin Durant, and he still tried to attack. And I felt like at times they got a little frazzled, and they went to that hero ball. One thing I would have liked to see them do, especially when Klay Thompson started to really heat up, they constantly put Klay Thompson on Westbrook, and I feel like they need to get the ball to Westbrook to make Klay Thompson work and try to cool him off a little bit, because what do you have, 11 threes and 41 points? So they didn't do a good job of trying to shut him down.
Yeah, the one thing I found so amazing outside of Klay's offensive performance is he was doing all of that, shooting lights out while also guarding Westbrook. I think that was underplayed in the media. Like he was really working on defense as well, guarding probably the most explosive player in the league. So shout out to Klay Thompson for that. He put on a bananas performance.
Yeah, just the shots that he was hitting were, I mean, remarkable. I know he had, I think it was the third quarter when he really started to come on, and he was hitting shots where, I mean, he was barely caught the ball. His feet weren't really set. Different defenders were all over him. I know that one that he hit with about 4 minutes left that I think it either gave them the lead or got them. I think it might have got them within like 3 points of OKC, but he was about 6 feet beyond the arc, and Westbrook didn't have his hand up, and Klay Thompson drilled it from like straight away. And he was, I think, totally the reason why they won that game, and he really got Curry going. I think if it wasn't for Klay Thompson's performance, I don't think, OKC does definitely, or Golden State definitely does not win that game.
Yeah, he definitely stepped up. He's been great this whole series. I heard somebody tweet out last night he's been their best player. I mean, Curry and Green have been inconsistent, so I might agree with that. And Klay was hitting shots over Kevin Durant with his hand up. So that alone is an accomplishment. That guy is so long, and he's just fading away, shooting threes at ease.
So my final takeaway from Game 6, KD and Westbrook didn't make the best decisions. Earlier in the series, they were making the correct ones, and their teammates were coming through. Didn't quite look like that last night, but it also took a record-breaking performance from Klay Thompson for the Warriors to just sneak by right at the end. What do you think happens in Game 7?
I think it's going to be close. I'm going to go with Golden State by a hair just because they're so good at home. I really want OKC to win this. I feel like they have a great opportunity to win it this year. With how good the West is year in and year out, you can't take 1 year for granted, especially when the East is so weak right now. And I think they have even though Cleveland's playing well, I think they'd have the upper hand in the series just because I don't think anybody on Cleveland can stay with Westbrook. I really want to see them win this series, but I'm going to go with Golden State just because at home they're just so dangerous. Klay Thompson had a big game, and Curry played really well at the end. I think they have a lot of momentum.
Yeah, my head's telling me I need to pick the Warriors. Like the Warriors are going to win. They just won 2 straight. They're a 73-win team. But my instincts are telling me to go with the OKC. So I'm going to go with OKC. And I also saw this awesome picture from the game last night. It's Curry celebrating and putting up some hands. And you see Westbrook in the background just giving him such a savage look. And I just feel like Westbrook wants to win this game so bad. And him and Kevin Durant are just going to step up because, they've heard what everyone's talking about today. So I'm going to go with OKC.
Yeah, this is tough. I think the smart, logical pick would be Golden State, but I don't know. I feel like OKC has dominated the series for the most part. They've been the more dominant team. And if KD and Westbrook just make the correct decisions and their others come and knock down shots, I think they can win this game. I know that's a lot of ifs, but you also have to factor in Klay probably won't have a record-breaking performance in Game 7, but then you have to balance that out with, hey, Steph didn't have a great shooting night in Game 6, so he'll probably step it up and be a little bit better in Game 7. Does that even it out? To be honest, I don't know who's going to win. I have no idea. The logical choice is Golden State, but being logical isn't very fun, so I'm going to go OKC, pulls the upset here in 7. All right, guys, let's move on to new coaches in the NBA. We have a ton, so I'm just going to list them out for you, and then we'll answer some questions about each of these guys. Kenny Atkinson, Brooklyn Nets. Nate McMillan, Indiana Pacers. Jeff Hornacek, hasn't been formally announced yet, but we think he's going to sign. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I don't know whatever the reasoning is for it, but what I had read recently is that they're waiting until after Memorial Day weekend, then they're going to make it official, and then they're going to have a press conference on Friday of next week, so that'd be June 3rd, I believe.
So Jeff Hornacek, New York Knicks. Hopefully Rambis doesn't come in and steal us from him. Frank Vogel, Orlando Magic. Scott Brooks, Washington Wizards. Mike D'Antoni, Houston Rockets. I don't think that's been officially announced yet either, but I think he will sign. Luke Walton, LA Lakers. David Fizdale, Memphis Grizzlies. Tom Thibodeau, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Dave Yeager for the Kings. A lot of new hires this season. A lot of people got fired.
Yeah, a lot of guys got kicked out this year.
And
Yeah,
shout out to Phil Jackson for just completely destroying the normal, or completely raising the market for coaches after giving Derek Fisher 5 years for $25 million.
yeah, but I didn't see any hires that were that close in terms of.
Well, Kerr got that. Kerr signed like right after he got that.
Right, yeah, Kerr did get a lot. Yeah, but I don't
year.
like D'Antoni. They're saying he's going to get $20 million over 4 years. I don't know what I don't know what everybody else's contract. I think Thibodeau is getting like $25 million over 5 years.
No, he's getting like 40 over 5 or something like that, because he got president of basketball ops too. He's basically Stan Van and Doc Rivers from the Clippers. He has like the same sort of responsibility now. He got paid.
Yeah, so I just read on ESPN, and it looks like otherleague.com has it too. His contract is 5 years, $10 million per year, which makes sense because you think about it, he's doing the jobs of 2 people. I mean, that is a lot of money for a head coach, and I'm assuming that makes him the highest paid coach. It looks like Doc Rivers makes $10 million, but I think him and Greg Popovich makes $11 million. Scott Brooks makes $7 million. Billy Donovan makes $6 million. So I mean, all the new coaches are making a lot of money, and some of the older ones. Tyronn Lue only making $3 million. Wow, wow.
That Phil Jackson new coaching hire effect. Oh my God. But all right, guys. Which team do you think made the best hire out of all these guys?
You know what, Nick? You can go first on this one.
All right, thanks, John. Well, I know we're all going to pick Tom Thibodeau, so I'll go with my guy, Kenny Atkinson, just because I feel like it's a really underrated signing. I know a lot of people don't care about the Nets. They don't have their draft pick. They don't have a lot of talent, but I think this guy helps them attract some more talent. He has great relationships with the players he's worked with. You know, Jeremy Lin, Al Horford, Kent Bazemore, Kyle Korver, Jeff Teague. Guys have really talked highly about him, and because the Nets don't have a lot of picks, I feel like he can help them a lot because he's really good at developing players. So I feel like this signing hasn't caught a lot of hype, but I feel like it was a great move by the Nets, and I really love Kenny Atkinson.
I like Frank Vogel going to Orlando. I think that's a perfect fit. I think he's a defensive-minded coach, and I think he's got a lot of players with a lot of defensive potential. When you think of Peyton, Oladipo, Aaron Gordon, I still think they need, and Hazonia. I still think they need to do something about that, either Oladipo or Peyton. I don't think you can't have 2 of those guys as your starting guards. I think they got to trade one of them. But I think that's a great hire. His offense has always been a little suspect in terms of, I guess, his ability to coach a good offense. But his defense is always tops in the league. And I think with this team, they're going to be right up. They're going to be right up there amongst the elite in terms of their defense right away.
Yeah, the obvious answer is Tom Thibodeau for obvious reasons. He has the best track record of any of these guys. But I'm gonna go with Luke Walton to the Lakers, just for the sake that Harrison Barnes is a restricted free agent, and the Lakers are gonna I feel like the Lakers will throw money at him, and it's gonna be much easier for him to go down to LA and play for a former coach that he's had. And also Festus Ezeli. I think both of those guys leave Golden State and end up in LA. So I think that's a good hire for the Lakers.
Yeah, and I mean, he did a good job with the Warriors, so like, there's a good chance he can help that team in a lot of different aspects. Not just putting players in, like, he's going to probably install a system that's going to be a lot better for that team than what Byron Scott was running.
All right, guys, who improves the previous win total the most?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I think without question, Tom Thibodeau. I mean, I know. I feel like you guys could easily say that as well, but I think Tom Thibodeau is actually, we'll go with Dave Yeager. I think he's proven track record at Memphis for the past few years. I think his whole success this year will depend on whether or not he can tap into Boogie. Maybe he's the ultimate Boogie whisperer. They just need someone to make him happy in Sacramento, because honestly, I think they need to get rid of him, because I think he's burned too many bridges there. He's not happy there. I think the only thing left is just to get rid of him and get some value for him in return. But you never know. Maybe Dave Yeager can convince him to I don't know, be happy in Sacramento.
Yeah, I feel like that team hasn't really played with a lot of like hustle, energy, and like heart. And I feel like we saw Dave Yeager cry in his press conference. So this guy's going to bring some intensity and some passion to this team, and I think that's something they really need. You know what? Hopefully, Cousins stays there and he can get the most out of him. But if not, he should be able to get a lot of assets for him. But for the question, I'm going to go with the easy choice. I'm going to go with Thibodeau. I mean, this team is so talented. He's going to install some great defense there. No reason they shouldn't be able to improve. Probably 12 plus wins at least.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice of both of you guys. I'm gonna go with. It's tough. I'm gonna go with Scott Brooks. I feel like the Wizards have more talent than a lot of these teams that are good. Obviously, there's free agency in the draft. We haven't accounted for that yet, but I feel like the Wizards really underachieved this season. And if Bradley Beal and John Wall could both stay healthy and they get something out of their front court, I think they're a playoff team. They had a very disappointing season this year, but I think Scott Brooks being there will help improve and get them back in the playoffs and probably have the largest win total.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure that the Wizards really underperformed last season. So I think Brooks getting some can help them get more wins, and they probably should have got more wins last season. And then they'll have Markieff Morris for the whole season, so that should probably help them too. The real question will be if they are able to re-sign Bradley Beal.
Well, all reports are they're going to give him the max. He thinks he deserves the max, and the way with the market the way it's going to be this summer, he's probably going to get it. I don't see how you can just let him walk for Washington. You got to probably offer it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Especially because it doesn't look like Kevin Durant's leaving.
Yeah, I think Scott Brooks. He had a pedigree of being a good defensive coach with OKC towards the end of his tenure. So I think this team has a lot of defensive potential with John Wall and Beal if they're both healthy, and then Markieff Morris is, when he's mentally engaged, is a really good defender. He can guard multiple positions. So I think the biggest thing they gotta fix up that small forward position. I think Gortat's solid, but if they can get an upgrade at the small forward, which there's not really many available this summer, I think that'll be really big for this team. But I do like the Scott Brooks hire as well.
Well, if they somehow got Nick Batum at the small forward position, I feel like that would be huge, but I don't think that's going to happen. But an upgrade at small forward would definitely help.
All right, guys, who was the worst hire this offseason?
I'm really not big on the whole Nate McMillan hire in Indiana, just because I mean he had some success as a head coach with Seattle, and then with the Portland Trailblazers, but I don't remember him too much as a coach in terms of how he liked to play. I know he was kind of like a very strict head coach. He earned the nickname Sarge for, I guess, being kind of like a disciplinarian, I guess you could say, very rigid. But I'm just not sure if with a young Indiana team, if hiring a coach like that was the right move. I would like to see someone else take the reins there, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, firing Frank Vogel in the first place didn't really make much sense. But I'm going to go with Mike D'Antoni. I feel like the Rockets, they needed somebody to come closer and kind of toughen them up and have a stricter mentality discipline, not just D'Antoni in the past has run that high-powered offense where they just get on the fast break, they're scoring a lot, not playing much defense. And this team already doesn't play much defense as it is.
Yeah, with the D'Antoni hiring, you'd have to think Dwight is for sure not resigning.
Yep.
I don't think he wants to relive Los Angeles 2012 again. So I think he's definitely out with that hiring. I'm going to go with Kurt Rambis because I don't think Jeff Hornacek's going to get the job.
Please don't say that.
I think Phil's going to do some Phil things, and it's not going to work out for some reason. And Kurt Rambis is going to get the job.
I think there's no way. I think Phil. Honestly, I think Phil realized, and this is something I read from some New York paper, and I kind of, this is kind of my thinking around the whole thing too. Is I think he started to realize that they're not going to get any free agents if Kurt Rambis is the coach. He just doesn't have any trust of the players, doesn't have the trust of the front office. And the only one that really had confidence in him was Phil Jackson. I think that's the main reason why he steered away from him at the end. But I do think the whole plan from the beginning was they bring him along as the head coach. But I don't think he's bringing him along. I just think I think Phil is, even though he's kind of stubborn with the triangle, I think he's too wise to stick to his guns that much when the whole fan base would just erupt if he were to stick with Ramsey as the head coach.
Okay, so I guess you're
Let's
forcing
hope
me
they're
to pick
right.
someone else then.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with who said Nate McMillan? Was that you, Nick?
That was me.
That was John.
All right, so since you're making me change my pick, John, I'm gonna agree with you and say Nate McMillan just because I liked Frank Vogel so much. I'm not sure how you can let a young coach like that get away. He's been coaching. He's 5 of the last 6 years he's made the playoffs with the Pacers. The year he didn't make it, with Paul George wasn't there. I really like Frank Vogel. I don't know how you can just let him walk away, and because you need a different voice or something. I don't know. But it is Larry Bird's decision, and who am I to critique Larry Bird? All right, guys, who of these coaches gets fired first?
I'm gonna go with a tie. I'm gonna go with a tie between D'Antoni and Earl Watson. Earl Watson, I feel like Phoenix, with all the, I guess, turmoil they had between Jeff Hornacek and the players, and I guess the players lost, I guess you could say lost faith in him or whatever, and then the issues with him and Markieff. I think they really want to bring in a players coach to kind of keep the chemistry high and things like that. So that's why they hired Watson. But I didn't watch too many Phoenix games, but what I saw from the record, I don't know if he seems like a promising head coach in the NBA right now. I think he needs some more experience, but I think Phoenix is going to regret that. And then I also think D'Antoni, I'm not big on the hire there. I think the thing that they needed was kind of like a disciplinarian for Harden. I think like someone like Thibodeau would have been great. Someone who's going to keep him, on a short leash, because you can't let him do his kind of just wander around on defense and things like that. I don't think D'Antoni's the right fit. Their offense is going to be fun, but it's just a perfect representation of what you would think Daryl Morey would get in his head coach, is getting someone like Mike D'Antoni.
Also, before you go, Nick, I just want to mention we didn't include Earl Watson because he was the interim coach. But shout out to Earl Watson for getting that full-time head coaching job with the Phoenix Suns.
I'm going to go with Nate McMillan, just because Larry Bird fired Frank Vogel because he thought he could get more out of the roster. But I feel like Frank Vogel got the most possible out of that roster, and Nate McMillan's not going to be able to get much more unless they're able to get some good moves this offseason.
That's fair. I think Larry Bird also said that Nate McMillan has like 3 years or something to figure it out, make improvements. I don't know what that means, but I believe I read that / heard that. Not quite sure though. I'm gonna go with Dave Yeager just because, not because of him as a coach. I just think the Kings are crazy and would fire someone midway through the season in their first year. So I mean, out of all these teams, you heard the Kings were gonna fire George Karl every week. I don't see how that's different with Dave Yeager if he doesn't get off to a hot start.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. The Kings front office is crazy. We've mentioned a million times on here that organization's like a reality TV show.
All right, finally, the most important question, guys. Out of all these new coaches, who wins a championship with the team that just hired them?
I mean, the easy answer is Tom Thibodeau, just because he's basically inheriting a potential dynasty. I mean, you got 3 really good young players, not to mention Rubio, and they have a top 5 pick, or they have the number 2 pick, number 3 pick into the NBA draft.
I don't think they're not in the top 3, but I think they're 5th.
Number 4, yeah.
4 or 5.
Yeah, so they might. I think they're 5 because I think Phoenix might be 4.
Right.
Yeah, but anyways, he's the easy pick. I mean, the only guy that I could possibly see besides him is maybe Dave Yeager. Just because I think Boogie's a stud, and I think they have some decent pieces there, and I think Yeager's a good coach. But none of these guys I really think is going to win a championship anytime soon besides Thibodeau.
Yeah, Thibodeau's my choice for sure. I don't think anybody has enough talent or potential to win a championship out of the coaches and teams that we've talked about.
Yep, clean sweep. I'm going with Thibs as well. I think he has the best chance. It's just as simple as that. Wiggins, Towns, whoever they get at 5, maybe Buddy Hield. Hopefully, he'd fit great there. But yeah, Thibodeau is my choice as well. All right, that wraps it up for this week's. That wraps it up for the NBA Outlet for this week. Thank you, John, for joining us. Thank you, Nick, for being here.
Yeah, great show, everybody, and thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.